Hey everybody, Eric Dorward here with the Spartan Rocketry Club, continuing our build here of the Estes Sasha. We are ready to hopefully do the final bits of construction on this particular kit. So there are a few things to do, mostly decorative at this point, although there is one bit that is not decorative, and that is getting the launch lugs on. I suppose might as well do that first. So these are 3/16 launch lugs, which is nice. 3/16 rod generally is stiffer, which means that it holds up to more abuse, which is kind of nice. They tend to be longer too. So we need to actually cut these in half. Now you could certainly measure this to make it accurate. It's probably not really worth it. You could also use a hobby knife. I'm just going to grab a pair of scissors and I'm going to eyeball it. Using the scissors here does deform the place where you cut, but you're probably going to end up deforming it when you use a hobby knife anyway, so I don't really see that as a particular drawback. Now, it might not be the world's worst idea to break out some sandpaper and sand the side where you cut. That actually looks pretty good. The first one I had there looked a little ragged in spots, but you know what, those actually look pretty good. It's probably not necessary. Now there are 4 of them, we only need 3, so one of them can go away. One of them actually is going to end up going on our first stage. It doesn't really matter where exactly, but it is going to go against the interior side of one of the fins. It says put it a quarter of an inch from the end, so yeah, you could measure that if you really wanted to. I seriously doubt it makes any noticeable difference. So all you really need to make sure that you're doing is getting it flush against the rocket. So I'm going to put some glue on here, maybe. Or maybe my glue will be nice and clogged. That's always an option too, I guess. Let's try it again. There we go. That feels a little better. Yeah, there we go. Alright, so there's some glue. You could spread this out. Probably might as well, I guess. Spread it out a little bit. The other way you could do this is just put the glue directly into the seam, which wouldn't be the world's worst idea either. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it right about here. That's about a quarter of an inch. That should be good to go. This can go off again because we won't need it for a bit. Then the other 2 pieces that we're going to use. One of them is going to go 6 inches up the body tube from the edge. The other one's going to go, well, right at the edge. But I'm going to put the one that's 6 inches first. Again, 6 inches, really, this is not an essential measurement. So I'm just going to kind of eyeball this. So it looks like 6 inches is most of the way up the fin, like 2/3 of the way up the fin. So we'll use that as a point to make my approximation. So a little bit of glue. Again, doesn't hurt to spread it out a little bit. And then this too is going to go into the fin. See, right about there. Alright, now the third one. This is going to require a little bit of creativity on our behalf. So this one is going to have to go down here right at the end, and it's going to have to be in line with this one, but we can't just line it up right on the line because that's the fin's line. It's going to have to go a little bit to the right of the fin. How far? Well, a little more than the width of the fin, I guess. This one though is, we're going to have to eyeball it, and we're probably going to have to adjust it because this is fairly important, right? It's got to be lined up or you won't be able to get this on the rod. So I'm going to put it where I'm thinking it probably goes. So like that. And then I'm going to look down the barrel and see if they actually do line up. This looks actually pretty good. Just going to adjust it ever so slightly, but more importantly too, I need it to be in a straight line. Right? This one's easy. That one, you know, that is where it is. It's the second one that's the problem. So I'm going to check both directions and just have a look through the hole to make sure that they appear to be in a line. You can use a ruler here, but that's not going to help all that much, to be honest. I don't think. So there's my ruler. This is a good place to actually break out the rod itself. So I'm going to let this set for a while. I'm going to do this off camera, but I'm going to let it set most of the way, and then I'm going to take it and I'm going to put it on the rod. It should slide on pretty easily. If it doesn't, I'm going to have to remove this. Again, I want this to be pretty set, like almost completely set. So if it doesn't line up, that means I'm going to have to cut it off probably. So let's hope that I did this pretty accurately. Alright, so we'll try to avoid bumping those for the time being. The next thing that needs to get done is we're going to put on these little decorative strakes. Now, the instructions, in their infinite wisdom, say that I should round the edges. That is not fun. It's not fun because there's a whole lot of edge, not much material, and it'd be pretty easy to damage these. So I'm not going to do that. If you want to, more power to you, but I don't think it's really worth it. And again, these are just decorative. So do with them as you please. Now, these are going to go in line with the shorter, lower fins. So I already have lines drawn on the rocket for where they're going to go, so that's nice. I don't need to worry about that. The long ones are going to start at the 3-inch mark. So I'm going to end up just using the existing upper fins as an alignment guide, I guess you could say, for that. So I'm not going to bother marking that off. The other one's supposed to start at 10 inches, so that, yeah, I should probably measure that. Anyway, let's put the long ones on first. So I'm going to need glue, of course, and I'm going to have to put quite a bit of glue on this because it's pretty long. I'm not going to bother doing 2 applications of glue like I did for the fins, because they're not fins. It's not really worth it, I don't think, to do it that way, although I do want to spread the glue out nice and thin and evenly more than anything else. And I did get a little that kind of fell off the side. I want to clean that up. There we go. Alright, so not a lot of material, but a lot of surface area. Alright, so again, this one's going to go, I'm moving it away from the launch lug because I don't want to mess with the launch lug right now, but I'm going to line it up with the ends of the fins, centered on the line, like that. And I'm going to push it down without moving it as best I can. Now, you'd think this is pretty rigid, but you can move it. Like, you can move the middle independently of the ends, amazingly. So right now I'm going to kind of just like smooth it out, push it down. I'm going to hold it here for a little bit. You know, this isn't going to fall off because it's so light and there's so much glue on it. That's not a particular concern, but I do want it to smooth out so it doesn't peel away or anything like that. So that feels pretty good. I do have some glue along here that I want to mop up. The other side looks fine. Okay. Alright, while I'm doing this, I'm going to take the time to measure where 10 inches is just on the rocket, just out of curiosity. I do want them to be even. The ones that line up with the fins, that's not a problem, of course, because they line up with the fins. But the ones that are shorter, yeah, that could be a little difficult to make sure that they are evenly spaced. Again, it doesn't, these do, they are going to minorly affect the flight characteristics, right? So if I put them and they weren't, if I attached them and they weren't evenly spaced, it could potentially cause an instability in the rocket. But that seems like a fairly low risk. Alright, same deal, this time up here at the 10-inch mark. Since this is shorter, it's less of a concern about the middle part wobbling when the top and the edges aren't. But still, I want to do a good job. Alright, so I'm going to again push it, make sure it's set flat, and this time there's more glue on this side than anything else. A little bit here too. Okay. 2 more. Don't overdo it on the glue here because you don't need much. Alright, there is so much glue on this because there's so much area. You really do not need very much, and the excess glue that you put on here is just going to squish out, and then you're going to have to clean that up. So I don't think I'm going to end up putting a fillet on this. I mean, why would I? It doesn't really require it. So the idea here should be to keep the glue to a minimum. Alright. That looks pretty good. Alright. Just kind of push it down again. Yeah, that is shifting a good amount still. I think I've attempted to push this out before the glue had begun to set up. Alright, smooth things out wherever necessary. Okay. And last one. This one again I'm going to have to measure. There we go. And glue. I've actually been kind of light on the glue, but that's all right. Well, it wasn't particularly even, so the places where there was a bit too much glue, well, you just spread it out. Okay. And push it in place just to set it up. Alright. And smooth out the little bits of glue that escaped. Alright, so that is pretty good. The last, well, there's one little thing I'm going to mention quickly before I do the last bit of work, and that is, so there's a motor retention system for the second stage. Now, I've actually never used one of these in a second stage. I've only ever used them by themselves, so that'll be interesting. You could put this on right now, because when you paint this, you should paint it all as a uniform object, so you're not going to have to worry about this getting painty. I think I'm just going to leave it for now and do it at the end after everything's all set. So I'm going to skip that. The last thing we need to do is put the little dowels in place into all these notches. So they're going to fit in like this, and I'm just going to kind of like pinch them to hold them in place. Instead of gluing the dowel itself, I'm going to put some glue in the slot like this. And I'm going to actually put some on both sides like that. Alright. I think I'm going to leave this flat for the time being. I might end up moving it upright, but I'm just going to kind of put the dowel in and then pinch it into place and hold it like this to get the glue to set. That should assure that the dowel is where it's supposed to be and that it is straight, because I can feel, it's even right in the middle of everything, so I shouldn't have to worry too much about this not being exactly where it ought to be. That should be enough because I didn't use very much glue. It looks straight, looking straight down on it, that's how I would tell. And there isn't too much extra glue. There's a little bit. I'm going to have to sand that anyway, so I'm not too worried about that. So I'm going to do one more. The rest of this is just going to be kind of repetitive, but I'm going to do one in the bottom fin as well. So try to squeeze some glue into that seam. That's probably plenty. And then again, just going to clamp it in place with my fingers and hold it for a few seconds to get everything all set up. When I'm done with this gluing bit, I'm definitely going to set it upright just in case, but I don't think that's going to be that big of a deal. Okay, it feels pretty good, and again, wherever the excess glue is, I'm just going to kind of, whoops, that was not set. Readjust that. Make sure it's pushed all the way down in there. I'm just going to pinch that again, hold it for a little bit longer. So I was a little premature in that one. That's okay. No harm, no foul. That looks pretty good. Alright, so the remainder I am going to do off camera because there's no reason to watch that, but this pretty much takes care of the construction phase. It will be on to the next part, that would be preparing for painting next. So I will see you in that video.